What's going on, guys? It's Bobby from MCBTV Productions, and today we're back with another video reviewing NASCAR Thunder 2004. NASCAR Thunder 2004 came out during the golden age of EA and EA Sports. Contrary to its title, NASCAR Thunder 2004 actually came out in 2003, kind of giving fans and gamers alike something to look forward to for the 2004 season and giving them a taste of the 2003 season. Now, there are 5 categories on which we rate games on here at MCBTV: gameplay, graphics, sound, soundtrack, and replayability. Now, I'm going to be going through all 5 of those elements and culminating to a final score at the end of the video. Now, to talk about gameplay. A lot of these yearly games, sports games, get a lot of shit just because they're very similar to the game before them. Now, if there is one thing that benefits a yearly cycle for a game, is a lot of the stuff from the old games that they've taken years and years to develop and perfect and receive feedback on go into the next year's game. One of those game modes is career mode. Now, career mode is one of the returning modes in the game, as I mentioned, in which the player takes control of a custom driver and races to get sponsors, equipment in the garage, and respect from other drivers. Now, at first, your car is going to suck. You're going to be one of the back cars in the field, and I like how this is. I like how you cannot buy teams. Like in the games following NASCAR Thunder 2004, you can't just skip to the top. Well, there are other ways around that, but in career mode, you literally have to start from the bottom and work your way up. And it actually makes for a very nice progression to the game, and honestly, it adds replay value, which I'll talk about later. So you start at the bottom, your car sucks, you start winning races, start making money, and throughout the career mode, this is the party piece of this game, I feel like. At the time, nobody else was really doing this in racing games. So it was kind of cool to see you progress through the ranks and eventually get a good enough car where you could win races and win a lot of championships. And at that point, that's when you really feel like, it feels really rewarding because you know that you had to start with something that wasn't so good and turn it into something that was great. Contrary to career mode, you have the season mode, which allows you to actually start with one of the NASCAR cars in the field. Doesn't matter which car it is. You could even take one of your own custom cars that you made in the custom car shop and take it into a season mode where you just run one season, see if you could win the championship, which is really fun. And of course, you could choose an existing driver, like I said, and with custom rules and schedules, run your season and see if you win the championship. And you will have a very good car right off the bat, so you can start winning right away, because not everybody has time to finish 36th in a game, that was released how many years ago now, right? So season mode is definitely a great alternative option to the career mode, if you're just looking to, start off, learn the game, and have some fun and be in a competitive car right away. Now, beyond the career and season mode, Speed Zone, Lightning Challenges, and the tutorial mode were also added to the game. Some of these came back from the previous game, obviously, but on the surface, NASCAR Thunder 2004 is a very approachable game to pick up and play for the first time, and especially at the time, not a lot of games were really trying to help you and walk you through learning the game mechanics and whatnot. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to talk about the game mechanics. This game is fucking hard. I'm going to tell you what, when I first picked up this game as a kid, I was humbled by it. After playing a lot of Gran Turismo 3, which isn't a very easy game within itself, the controls did not feel very tight to me. I felt like the relationship to what I was doing when I was steering on the joystick and what the car was doing on the track was definitely, very foreign to me. It didn't feel like, it didn't feel normal. It didn't feel good. But as time went on, I practiced the game more and more. As I got older, I appreciated this challenge. I appreciated the fact that those cars would challenge you and they would get really close to you and you would have to try to stay off of them in big packs, and you have to be very smooth, and it honestly adds a level to the game that most other games don't have, because you're not fighting the car as much in other games. Especially now, I'm spoiled. I have a racing wheel. I'm playing on the PlayStation 4. Everything has been, the physics have been, ironed out to a T, so I can be confident I know what the car is going to do. This game is a challenge, and that's why, honestly, I think a lot of the people on YouTube that I watch, some of the NASCAR YouTubers, they still play this game, and they still do, walkthroughs and rundowns of this game, and it's really fun. It's really fun to watch, because after you've played this game, that you're actually doing something that's difficult. And for that, obviously, that's a bonus to the replay value, but I can't say the game being overly difficult and the controls and the way the game feels isn't really that great. So I'm going to have to bring the point down a little bit for the gameplay just because of those very issues that I expressed earlier. Also, again, I don't want to compare the past to the future, but NASCAR 2005 introduced all 4 series going into the, all 4 of the NASCAR series, the Busch series, the Craftsman Truck series, and the Wheel and Modified series at the time. Now, obviously, at the time, you can't compare the past to the future, and I feel like this game, in terms of game modes and features, and just the gameplay in general while you're playing it, I gotta give it an 8 out of 10. It's really good. I don't think it's the best in the series, but it definitely deserves all of the praise it gets, and all of the people that are still playing it today, they're playing it for a reason, and it's a pretty damn good game in terms of gameplay. Now, I'm not one to harp about graphics too much in old games. To me, once you look at a new modern game, and you look at any old game, you realize that comparatively it's in a completely different class. But looking at the games at the time, this was definitely not a marvel. It wasn't ahead of its time. It wasn't necessarily behind its time. The graphics were okay. A lot of the things were low resolution, but considering, again, they're on a yearly cycle, they have to release these games relatively quickly. They have to put in all these tracks with all these different fantasy tracks and, all the cars and the updates to the cars. It's just like, I understand how hectic that could be. So I'll give them a bit of a pass on it. I'm going to give graphics 7 out of 10. Sound in this game is honestly pretty good. I actually like the way the cars sound. Some people say that they sounded better in the other games. I personally don't mind it, especially when you're pulling up next to another car and passing them and hearing the sound of their car. The cues that you get from your pit crew when you either hit the wall and mess up or you win the race. A lot of it's very nice. It's very easy on the ears. The menu sounds aren't obnoxious and annoying when you click on buttons. And I think it's fantastic. I think it's good. I think in terms of sound, I feel like that hasn't progressed quite as much in games as graphics have. So these sounds are definitely bearable, even by today's standards. So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Now, soundtrack is obviously a matter of taste. What kind of music you like, it's all a matter of taste. However, I think the songs in this game are great. Most of these artists you would have never heard of before, and it does have that early 2000s rock vibe. So I feel like if you like rock to any extent whatsoever, the rock in this game is very good, and I think you'll enjoy it. And it really suits the game super well, considering it's, high octane racing and whatnot. And I feel like this was definitely one of the strong suits of EA in general in these earlier games. Now, the only gripe I have is I wish there were more of them. I wish there were more songs in the game. However, that's a small gripe I have, and it just kind of stops me from giving it a perfect score. 9 out of 10 for soundtrack. Last but not least, replayability. Now, this is always an important one, especially when it comes to older games, because if the game doesn't have replay value, why am I even talking about it today in 2019? Well, the game does have replay value. As I mentioned before, the game is extremely difficult. In career mode, there aren't a lot of ways that you can kind of beat the system and try to get ahead of the game with a shitty car. You literally have to progress, and you have to get through it. And it's hard. It's challenging. And for some people, some people will fold. Some people will say it makes the game worse for it being overly difficult. But honestly, if you play this game enough, you will get extremely good at it. And it's really rewarding because you have to work for it. And that is, nothing's more true than that in the career mode. And beyond the career mode, I honestly feel like this game is fun to just pick up and play with your friends. It's not overcomplicated with all 4 series in it. You just pick up, your favorite cup drivers from the time, and you try to just race around as many tracks as you can. Some really good fantasy tracks as well that you can unlock, and Thunder plates. This game's replay value is actually fantastic. I still play it to this day. Obviously, there are a lot of YouTubers, as I mentioned, that I watch that still play this game over some of the later games like 2005, 2006, 2007. And I definitely see why. It is simple. It doesn't have as many features as 2005, and it seems to be a step behind in that regard. It's kind of like the Need for Speed Underground to Need for Speed Underground 2. Underground 2 had the free roam, and it had, a lot of extra features that Need for Speed Underground didn't. But for some reason, I always came back to the first game as kind of the pinnacle of the series. And that's kind of how I feel about NASCAR Thunder 2004. So for replay value, I'm going to give this game a 10 out of 10. Now, for the final score. Now, obviously, taking all of these things into consideration, now I don't average out all of the scores based on, adding them all up and then dividing them by the number of categories there are. I kind of take the weight of each one into consideration and how the game makes me feel, and there's a bit of subjectivity inside of the final rating. But honestly, after reviewing this game, after playing it for all of these years, I feel like there's no better person to give it a final score. So my final score for this game is 9 out of 10. It's not perfect, but damn, for the time it was damn near perfect. And it was fantastic, and I had a lot of fun playing it. I think you will too. Picking up the game, if you are a racing fan, if you are a NASCAR fan, this game, you will have a good experience with it. If you are not, it might not be a 9 out of 10 for you, but honestly, I think you'll still enjoy playing it and you won't regret picking it up. Anyways, guys, it's been Bobby from MCB TV, and I'm out. Peace.